And now, after years of planning, sweating, and going broke, here is the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
I'll alert the media.
Why they would give this man a podcast is anyone's guess.
Then there is what could only be a bizarre coincidence or something else.
Welcome to the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Country music and fine moonshine. Finally, a podcast that lets it all hang out.
Let's level with America.
Got your boots? Ready for some whiskey?
These boots are made for walking.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
And now, the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the show. Today we have Jaret Reddick on the show. For those of you that don't know, if you are in my age group, and a little older, maybe a little younger, Jaret was the lead singer for a pretty big punk band out of Texas called Bowlin' for Soup. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe not, but that's where you would probably know Jaret Reddick from. He also put out a country album a couple years ago that is absolutely fantastic. We really enjoyed catching up with Jaret and talking. We talked a lot about Bowlin' for Soup, obviously. We talked about the country stuff. We really got into some nitty gritty stuff too, which was a lot of fun for me, and seeing the other side of the glitz and the glamour, right? So we hope you enjoy this episode. We've recorded this a little while ago, and that's it, man. I am gonna start to say, I think, because I'm getting some heat. All of these conversations are for purely entertainment purposes. We get into a lot of stuff. We get into some good stuff. But anything that is said or whatnot, these are almost like therapy sessions, right? Minus the fact that I'm not a therapist, nor do I claim to be one. But we really enjoy the way we do this show. And like I said, anything that gets, that we get into is, a lot of these episodes get recorded weeks before they even come out. So that's all I'm going to say. So Jaret, thank you for being here. It was Jaret's birthday this past week. It was also my birthday this past week. We got to keep talking about it, right? So happy birthday, Jaret. And again, thank you for being here. If it's your first time here, welcome. This isn't your most conventional podcast in the world. We tend to swear. We tend to say some things that maybe we shouldn't, and we get into it. So thank you for being here. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. And we hope you enjoy the show. We did see Blake Shelton over this past weekend. We'll get into that on the opposite end of this. You want to talk about a show that if it's coming to your area you don't want to miss, that's going to be one. And we also have Charles Wesley Godwin next Friday, and we also have Lakeview on Thursday. So we'll be doing a lot of live stuff like we did this past weekend. So stay tuned for that. Again, without further ado, our conversation with Jaret Reddick. Enjoy. Yeah, sometimes I will click off the Google link, and then sometimes it'll send that way, and sometimes it won't. It actually pisses me off.
Well, anyway, I was on time and everything. Shit.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure you were. I don't doubt it. But hey, whatever. We're here now, right?
Awesome. Cool. Let's rock.
What's up, man? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. Glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah. So some news from you yesterday. Rock boat next year.
Yeah, man. So much happening right now. It's
you guys
crazy.
Ever been on the boat?
Yeah, so we've done. I guess this will be our third time on Rock Boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go. I've always been a big Sister Hazel guy. And I just never bit the bullet and did it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
So people are probably wondering, what the fuck is a punk dude doing on a country podcast?
That's probably true. Did we already start? Are we starting?
Yeah, this is how we do it. We just shoot the shit, man.
Going. Okay. I was trying not to talk very much because I'm a goddamn professional. And I was like, I don't want to shoot my wad, so to speak, And hell, fuck, yeah, I'm on a country podcast.
We're the least professional podcast you'll ever be on.
Now, I did a Speaking of country, I was up in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I did an interview up there, and I had never done a radio interview like this before, but there's the same sort of thing where like I'm sitting down, of course, and I'm like, God, this is a lot of small talk, like, I mean, just fucking press record for Christ's sake. And apparently, like, we had been doing the interview for like 45 minutes or whatever. And I did the thing where I just like, have we started? And she goes, oh yeah, I just turned it on. And then we just put in whatever part of the conversation we want. So yeah, man, it's good to be here. Fuck.
Thanks. We've been talking about this. It feels like forever.
Yeah. Gosh, it gets so hard. I mean, first of all, scheduling is very hard on a lot of these type things because a lot of podcasters work regular jobs too, obviously. And my problem is that when I'm home, I do my day. I do everything during the day.
Yeah.
And at night, it's like I'm a dad, and I'm spending time with my wife and my dogs and my 2 older children as well. And so weekends, same kind of thing. So sometimes it takes a bit to get it scheduled, but I'm glad we're here, man. I haven't, Bowling for Soup has been so busy that I haven't gotten to talk about my country stuff in a bit. And gosh, we're actually busy too. I mean, we've got so much, we've got a bunch of new music recorded for Jaret Reddick, and we've got some other stuff recorded that people will hear soon. And then, some cool shows on the horizon. So, I'm not really slowing down per se. It's just, I feel like Bowling for Soup is on such an insane run right now as far as just what we're doing. It definitely overshadows what I'm doing in the country world for sure.
Now, let me ask you this, right? Because you're a little older than me. And that's not a dig or anything, but
no, I mean, it's, what's funny is it's crazy. It's, I always felt like I was the youngest ever. I was the youngest of 6 kids. I always been, whatever. So I was always the youngest in Bowling for Soup. Now it's crazy because my wife is much younger than me. So all of our friends are younger than us or younger than me. Chris just retired from Bowling for Soup. So I'm now the oldest guy in Bowling for Soup. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't mind being the old guy. It does not bother me anymore. It's way better than the alternative. You know what I mean?
That's true. Because I was thinking about it. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, right? And like, I'm going to be 38 here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And like, when I was a teenager, you guys were huge. Everybody in that punk rock scene in the early 2000s was like, if you weren't doing punk rock, you weren't making money.
Right. Yeah.
And like, you guys have been around longer than that.
Yeah. We started in 94 and it was a bit of a, it was an interesting time for us because we knew what we were doing, but being from Wichita Falls, Texas, and then moving down to the Metroplex here in Dallas and all that, there weren't any bands that sounded like us or doing the same thing as us, and we didn't even have a real understanding that there were all these other bands out there starting and doing this whole thing until really the movement started, in 99, 2000 or whatever, as Blink-182 really started to blow up and you started to kind of catch a glimpse of these other bands and people that we were meeting out on the road and stuff. And, 2003, 2004, obviously was just this insane explosion. And I think that's a big part of like why there's this crazy comeback for it now. Music always ebbs and flows. And there's Bowling for Soup and Newfound Glory and Yellow Card and Story of the Year and Less Than Jake and Simple Plan and every band that I've just named and more all have big records that turned 20 in the last 18 months.
Right.
And so, we're all, everybody's out there doing tours that are celebrating that. And yeah. I mean, it was crazy. And especially with Warped Tour coming back or whatever, I'm very much reminded of the fact that our music was kind of king at that point. It had started out with more of the skate punk stuff, Pennywise, and then even into NoFX and things when Warped Tour started, and also in '94. But by the time we got there, it was our thing. And then,
Right.
it turned into more of like the screaming bands and then sort of the metalcore and all of that. And then in sort of like the middle of the 2010s, it was a bigger mix, and obviously it was sort of on the downhill slide. But yeah, I mean, we've been doing it for a really long time, and we didn't have a hit till 9 years in, and so uh, a third of the time that we have been a band was just in the van trying to get people to listen to us.
Yeah. And it's I think about it, and now you said like some of those bands are having albums that are 20 years old. Like, when I was just out of high school, I got into Jack's Mannequin like a lot.
Yeah,
And even, Andrew just put out that they're doing a 20th anniversary tour of that album, and it's like,
it's
what the
interesting. Yeah.
fuck? How am I this old?
That guy's been he is one of the he's one of those dudes that just like kind of keeps getting famous in different ways. Like
Yeah.
Andrew is an interesting study because something corporate and then Jack's Mannequin and now just Andrew McMahon and Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness or whatever that is. It's just like he keeps finding new ways to reinvent himself but continually just kills it
Yeah.
and such a talented guy. I was a big something corporate guy. Jack's Mannequin really, I don't know that it really wasn't my thing. It's just I was so,
Yeah.
there's this point. I talk about this a lot, but there's this point in Bowling for Soup where we were literally so busy that I didn't see any movies. I wasn't listening to any new music. There's just a blank space as far as
Yeah.
like culture and entertainment and those things is concerned because I just was living and breathing this and becoming a dad and but yeah, Andrew's a talented guy.
So how do you come from Texas with all anybody that's, I mean, listening to this podcast, we think Texas, we think George Strait, we think, the megas of the country music world, and
Yeah.
then you start a punk band that fucking just skyrockets.
Yeah, I mean, and make no mistake, I sort of do too. I mean, that's what I think of too. I mean, I guess for me, when I think about Texas and especially music, I think obviously the greats, but really to me, I think Randy Rogers, Eli Young,
Yeah, yeah.
Casey Donahue, I could go on. Bree Bagwell, I that's what I think of when I think about Texas music these days. But and I guess this is the part of that conversation where it just sort of makes sense to reel in what you asked, what you said when we very first started the interview, which is, what am I even doing here? It's like people be, why did you do a country album? And it's like it's in my blood.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I I got into hair metal when I was a kid, and then I got into heavier and heavier and heavier stuff, and then I heard punk rock for the first time in the early 90s, and it changed everything for me because it was like, wait a minute, I can actually sing, and we can play fast, but like the music can sort of has some sort of substance to it, and it's fun,
Yeah.
like, and it was such the antithesis of like what it was I was doing. Because when you're in a death metal band, it's like you have to have a medical dictionary to write lyrics, like it's not, and I don't know, I had zero interest in writing that kind of stuff, and then it was like I heard the Descendants and the Ramones and bands like that, and so it's like I want to write punk rock, but I want it to be, again, what would become pop punk. I was like, I want it to be more Beatles, more like an organic type thing, but where we
Mhm.
have this punk influence. And so Bowling for Soup was originally started to be the punk rock Beatles. Everybody sang. So our first album that came out 3 months after we started in '94. Eric, our original bass player, sings half the songs, and all four of us could sing harmonies and stuff. And so that was really our forte, and still really is. It's our vocals, and and sort of our thing that I wouldn't say sets us apart, but it's definitely the thing that people notice the most. It's like, holy crap, like you guys can sing. It sounds just like the album, and that I've always prided myself on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, starting the band up was just like that's what I was into, and again, I mean, we were easily the first punk rock band in Wichita Falls, and there definitely was not a lot going on around, where we were. When we got down to Dallas, there were definitely punk bands, but it was more of like the Mohawk, in fact, we all still had long hair. This is a funny story. We all still had longer hair when we started playing down in Dallas, and we did a punk festival, and I guess our music wasn't punk enough because all the leather jackets with the studs on it and the mods and stuff just started lighting paper airplanes on fire and throwing them onto the stage, yelling, "Kill the hippies."
Oh,
And,
Jesus.
we thought, okay. I mean, it was a bit of culture shock because we thought we were punk rock, but again, we were so invested and so, uh, you know, what we were doing, it didn't matter to us that we weren't being accepted in that environment. It's not like we just went and cut our hair and dyed it
Right.
green. Like we just stayed who we were, and that's it worked out.
Because like I was doing some deep dive into some Bowling for Soup tunes, and there's a lot of stuff there, and I was starting to think about it a little more in the punk genre itself. Like there's a lot of, for me, when I think of country music, I think about the lyrics and the message. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of country tunes you guys have. You slow those down and you've done it, right?
Yeah.
And those are country songs. I mean, Ohio in and of itself is a country song, you
Yeah,
know?
man, I gotta say, I really appreciate you noticing that. I think a lot of interviews that I do, they're not really, and that's okay because if I'm doing a country interview, it would be so arrogant of me to expect for you to know my music from other things. I mean,
Dude, I
obviously,
graduated high school in 2005. If I don't know your music, I
right,
slept through it.
yeah, something happened.
you
Yeah,
know?
but it's like I know that no matter who you are, 3 or 4 to 5 of my songs, whether
Right,
you know they're by me or not, right?
right.
But that's not the point. The point is what you're saying is that you're like, gosh, a lot of them are like, this country thing just sort of comes from left field, and it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Even Let's Do It for Johnny has a song called Everything on it. It's got chicken picking.
Right,
We have a song called All Figured Out. We have Running from Your Dad, Drinking Beer on a Sunday. Those are all not even just like country leaning. They're country songs that
right.
we've been putting on records the whole time. And then you have Ohio that has the saloon breakdown in it,
Mhm.
and so quite
Even Trucker
frankly,
Hat, right? Like
Trucker, yeah,
just the
quite
lyrics
frankly,
alone
exactly. And
or the feeling alone.
they all start sounding like, because it's all written with me. I have a guitar that sits right here by where that's me. I picked this thing up, or that one, and they all sound like country songs until
Yeah.
I make them a little faster, and then we put a drum beat on there. I put a little in my voice or whatever, and and then there's a bunch of octave guitars going really fast, and then it's a pop punk song. But lyrically, I was taught to write lyrics by listening to Waylon Willie, Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton. I tell stories,
Right.
and that's all. That's the only way I know to write. I can't really do the deep poetic stuff that like a lot of other people in my genre can do. It's
Right.
just not me.
I
And
mean, even you think about it, right? I'm sure you know who like Steven Wilson Jr. is.
I actually don't, but
No?
no. Is that bad?
Oh, dude, he is awesome. He just put out an album last year, the year before, that is like fantastic, and he has a song on it called 1994.
Okay.
And if I when we're done, go back and listen to that tune, because you listen to that song and then you listen to like 1985, like there are so much, like it is, I hear them both and I'm like, you don't have a song like that without a song like yours.
Well, I wrote that down, and I will go check it out. And
Trust me.
it's one of the cool things about you know going into a different genre this far into my career, which my record's been out 3 years now, so I'm not
Right.
even a newbie anymore. But is just the fact that all of these other artists already knew who I was. They all already knew my songs. They're all, some of them have even played 1985 or Ohio or almost or whatever in their set, and I mean, that was just the welcome that I got was amazing. And it just, and all of that is due to, really Bowling for Soup.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not, it's not lost on me that I had a little bit of a foot in the door. I mean, obviously I'm having to work my ass off to get people to come to the shows, but it's to get accepted. It wasn't that much of a battle, which I know that it can be a little cliquey sometimes. So I'm very thankful for the fact that all of those guys and girls were into pop punk at some point in their life.
Yeah. Now, for when you released the album in, what was it, 22?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, 22.
Now, was that something? Forgive the verbiage, but was it done out of something new to do? Was it something you had always wanted to do? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even though it doesn't come out of left field, it comes out of left field.
Sure.
To
Yeah.
some
No.
people.
Both. So it's something I always wanted to do. I didn't really know how I wanted to do it, but I knew I wanted to do a country record. Bowling for Soup doing a country record, I feel like would have just instantly been a novelty, and I think that was my biggest fear, even just releasing it by myself. But I also didn't really want to start another band because I've kind of done that. Like I have a band with my best friend called Jarinus, and I have a band with my girl best friend called Jaret and Kelly, and I've had a band for a while called People on Vacation. And so I've sort of done that thing. And so I was like, you know what, man, I'm just going to write a country record, and I'm going to try my best, not to be overtly funny, and try not to just I don't want to be Bowling for Soup country. And
Right.
so I wrote this, what I consider to be a very organic country record. And it was very important to me that it sounded such that you could hear every single instrument on it. It sounded Texas and not Nashville. And because of preference for me, nothing, I don't have anything against anybody, but, as far as music goes, like whatever, I like some of the Nashville shit. I think Luke Combs is great, but, but yeah, and so that part. So I'd always wanted to do it. So that covers that part. But I was also in the middle of a pandemic, and the first year, by that August, Bowling for Soup was like, man, we got to do something. And so we literally rented a tour bus and took it up to the Poconos and made an album, and took the tour bus back. And then I worked on that for a few months, and that came out. And then the second year of the pandemic is starting, and we still can't play gigs. So yeah, Zach Malloy, who is a great friend of mine and a Nashville writer and also a rock star turned country guy, was like, man, you've been talking about this forever. Let's just do it. And so we did it. And, a year later after starting to make it, it was out. And so, it was definitely both. Was something that I always wanted to do, and something that I needed something to do.
I respect the hell out of that, because you see a lot of, artists switch genres, right? For whatever reason, a cash grab, or, because country music right now in the years we're living in is huge. It's absolutely huge. And you get the naysayers that will be like, oh, well, they're doing it just because it's popular, right?
Right.
But, somebody in my shoes, where I have to see it all, you can kind of weed those people out,
Yeah.
And your album is, I like that you said it was Texas country, because that's the kind of like the leanings we're trying to go towards more a little bit, because like the Nashville stuff is great, right? Don't get me wrong. It serves its purpose. But if I could just have Texas guys on here for the rest of however long this is, that's
Sure.
what I would do.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. I'm in a successful rock and roll pop punk band, whatever you want to call it, not to the extent of that I don't ever have to work again. I mean, obviously if I was, I understand that I have a certain amount of fame, but if I were what they call rich and famous, I would not tour the way that I do, because I would want to stay home all the time. So, we're at this level where it's awesome, and we definitely have made it, so to speak. So I definitely had a fear of people thinking, oh, it's going to be a cash grab. It's whatever. Here's the thing. This band has cost me a fortune. It's like, first of all, I had to buy a van, and you have to buy gear, and you have to pay your musicians and all that. But so it was never about the money for me. And honestly, I think I think you have to be on another level for it to be a cash grab. I think
Yeah.
you got to be like at that level where it's just like, you're going to sell 25,000 copies, whatever. I don't know. But where I'm trying to get to this is I had that fear and I didn't experience it.
Yeah.
People were great to me. I mean, from radio to podcasts to venues to promoters to bands to fans of other bands. It's been awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been a few things online, but you kind of can't take any of those seriously because there are
No.
people that are literally just need to
Assholes.
put stupid shit into the world all the time because they're miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, man, again, a big fear of mine was, it being taken as a novelty. Secondly, just being taken as I guess a cash grab is a good idea, but also I didn't want I didn't want the country guys and girls to feel like I was invading their territory.
Right.
Like I didn't, I understand that there are some greener pastures on this side of things, as far as that stuff goes, but shit, I'm willing to put in the work. I mean, we go out for 9 days in a van and I'm 52 years old, man. Like my back and knees are killing me and shit. And I'm, but I want to do it. Like
Yeah.
and so I think just the fact that I did come out with the music, that I did continue to keep putting out music, and that I have stayed and kept playing, stayed on the road, and done it. I earned myself into this thing, and so nobody sees me in group settings or whatever, and I don't really get shunned or anything.
Right.
It's like everybody's been really cool.
Did anybody in the country world, when they started getting wind that you were doing this or wanted to do this, say, don't do it?
No,
No?
no, no, nobody was, don't do it. I definitely, I definitely learned very quickly that, there's definitely some cliques, and there's definitely some people that don't like some people and some people that don't like other people. But, a wise man once said, high school never ends, right?
Yeah.
And that was me that said that. I, you just expect that in anything that you get into, and sometimes I'm surprised by it. Sometimes I'm just like, God, that seems so petty,
Yeah.
but I would never say that in the situation. And I don't know, I'm such a bright side, glass is half full guy, and always have been. I mean, in the depths of homelessness and living in a band van, and as dire as things ever were for me, I was always very much, positive, just like, hey, this is great. How much worse could it be? Whatever, or yeah, whatever. But no, nobody really. In fact, people were just what I got the most of the time was, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It'd be like, hey, Jaret Reddick from Bowling for Soup is doing a country record, and oh yeah, that makes sense. Dude's from Texas, you know what I mean?
Right.
His my entire arm, the left side of my body is just all Texas stuff, tattoo wise. I sing about Texas. My guitar in Bowling for Soup is a giant Texas flag. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, so the first song on my record is I'm way more country than you,
Yeah.
and I'm just basically saying, hey, sure, I live in the city and I dress like a, pop punk kid, whatever still. But listen, my first car was a truck. I know how to hunt. I don't, but I know how, I mean, I got it.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
That's so wild. It's one of those things where, you know, I see you, right? And like 14-year-old Jim is like, this doesn't make sense. Because it's like when I was 14, 15 years old, you were singing the songs that, like, to me, that was this, Jaret's singing about my life, and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
having any idea. Um,
Yeah.
which is also a wild thing, and it's, you think back to, and then this is the question for you, like, you think back to your career and seeing it in retrospect, and then thinking about the albums that have come out, and where it is now. Do you think that a lot, maybe the the pendulum coming back is because the kids my age are getting older, and they were like, oh, I remember that album from when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, and having that nostalgia and wanting to go back to that.
I think there's so many aspects to it. I think, um, first of all, yes, but I think that's exclamated by the fact that, Blink 182 got back together. MGK did a pop punk record.
Mm.
All of us are out on tour right now for these 20th anniversary celebrations, and there's so many of us who would have been like the big 10 or 20 whatever, and we're all still together. You know what I mean? And everybody's still doing stuff. I just saw that, and it was sort of like the last one that I was waiting for was Good Charlotte. And now they're announcing stuff. So I'm like, we're literally all still doing it, but I think that you guys, your generation is starting to have kids. You're starting to show your kids this music. A lot of the kids are actually getting into it because we're sort of that band that, like Nirvana or Foo Fighters or whatever from that generation where it's like parents and kids just kind of agree on it.
Yeah.
Bowling for Soup was always that band. Simple Plan is a great example of a band that like kids and parents can kind of like equally go to the show together kind of thing. And we still are, we can, we're a band that you could let your, 6, 8-year-old, 10, 11, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, whatever, listen to and go, oh, dude, this is what I used to listen jamming out all the time in high school, whatever. And he go, oh, 1985. Yeah, I know that song or whatever. And then they hear Almost, and then they hear, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, this is cool. And I can understand the words, and the beat is fast, and they're funny. And, but also, I think, again, I just think things are always cyclable, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Circular,
Yeah.
they ebb and flow, whatever. But
Yeah. True.
it's just a good time. It's sort of this perfect storm of all of that, in my opinion. And for us, it's it's the kids that were watching Phineas and Ferb and listening to 1985 on Radio Disney are all adults now, and Phineas and Ferb is coming back, and there's
Holy
just
shit.
a lot
That's
of
right. You guys
nostalgia.
did that, didn't
That's
you?
right. Yeah. Yeah. And so a lot of nostalgia in it as well, and that's the thing, people have their opinions on streaming and things like that. And it's like, I just don't know how you can argue. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to
Yeah.
music. Like just the fact that people can just think about you and go listen to you. It's like, people who were, if people were making money on music before streaming was a thing and they were not in the top 10 artists in the world, I would love to sit down with them and ask them how, because
Right.
we weren't. And
Right.
I have hits. I have gold records. This entire wall, I'm not showing off. I'm telling you, this
Right.
entire wall is gold and platinum records right here. And I didn't make a fucking red cent off of music until streaming started. Now, as a
Really?
writer, I did as a writer, but as far as like sales, we were on a major label. They made sure we were in debt all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, for me, just it's always been about. I've said it my entire. You could call my ex-wife right now and be like, "What is the thing that Jaret used to say about like making money?" And she would go, "Our kids eat T-shirts, and they still do to this day." It's bust your ass, get out there, figure it out. And now there's so many other ways to make a living on playing online and do it on and social media and all this stuff now. It's like, gosh, this is such a great time to be a musician.
Yeah.
Would I rather have been Motley Crue and just like party and just put songs out and get paid a shitload of money and not have to do all this stuff and have this aura about me where everybody thinks that I'm this but I'm really this over here? That sounds fun, but I don't mind putting myself out there, like I like it, but I also understand that I'm sort of over here on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And but that's cool. I'm fine with that.
So all the talk that we've heard in the last few years with Live Nation and taking as much as they do and all that, that's real.
Yeah. So what you're talking about for the listener is merch cuts.
Yeah.
And so that in my world of Bowling for Soup exists far greater than in the Texas country world. And I know that from experience. Very seldom at a country show has anyone come up to me and ask me for a merch percentage or any sort of payment for things that I just sold there. Bowling for Soup pays an amount every night of a big show that would literally make you vomit if I told you how much it was.
I can only imagine.
Because you're talking at minimum 15%, but standard is 20, but it can go as high as 30,
Yeah.
And if you're playing in front of 6,000 people, you're going to do pretty good in merch that night, and sometimes it's literally all the profit. And, some artists, and a lot of them will just say, fuck it, I'm just not going to sell stuff. And for me, I want to get that logo on people's chests.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want that shirt in that drawer. I want them to, even if they don't wear it, I want them every once in a while to go, what is that green? Oh, I want you thinking about my band. I want other people thinking about my band. This is how we stay relevant.
Yeah.
And so it's a game that we've always played. It's just now becoming this thing where people are going, what? And I asked the fans when BJ from American Aquarium first brought this to everybody's attention, which I thought, God, what the fuck? And I'm like, I put out a post to my fans and I just go, do y'all really not know that 25% of your money that you spend at the merch booth every night is going back into the venue or the promoter's pocket? And they were like, we had no idea.
No idea.
Well,
right.
Why do you think we're charging you $40 for a t-shirt?
Right.
Like, it's not because we're assholes, we're doing the best we can, but even that doesn't cover it,
No.
And shit, Jim, with cost these days, I mean, the amount that the cost of goods has come up and now shipping and all of that. I mean, man, it is a battle. It is a battle, but
I worked at a smaller venue up at Gillette Stadium when it was still there, and I saw it all the time, and that wasn't even a Live Nation venue. And
it's not just Live Nation.
Every night it was
every
like, all right,
promoter does it. It's the and those are the ones. I mean, that's just it. A lot of the promoters, they'll come back after you too. Like sometimes they won't collect. And then you'll get your manager will come and be like, hey, dude, you got to wire this money back to the promoter or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, now for me, it's like a gut punch twice. Cause I'm like, fuck. I thought I got away with it. So, but yeah, it's in the rock world, I probably in the bigger country world, whatever. I don't know. Some reason there is this love in the Texas country world where they see that as being what it is, which is fucking absolute bullshit and thievery. And because I hate to take up your whole interview with a rant, but
not at all.
It's like BJ said, man. It's like, and this is how I feel about it, and this is me, but man, I sit here and I have to I honestly I work so hard to make sure I have badass merch, and then I'm paying artists. I'm going back and forth. I'm spending so much time on it. I pay the artist, I pay the place to make it, the screen printers. I have to pay a store to either ship it out, or I pay them to sort it and then give it to us. I pay a guy to unload it, set it up, sell it, and then also pack it, count it for you, box it back up, put it back in the trailer and all of that. And I've that's all on my dime, and then I got to give you 20%.
Right.
I mean, man.
Yeah.
It's that's a tough one.
Right. And we've had merch guys on here. I'm really close with Shane Smith's merch guy, Corey. And I don't want to blow up his spot, but like we've talked off the record about shit, and it's like unbelievable. Some of the things, like he's like, my day to day, like it would blow your mind what my day to day is actually like. You think I just I'm just standing behind a table selling merch, and it's like it's not even close.
No, my merch guy gets up 2 hours before the rest of the crew, and he is the last one out of the building as well. First one in bed because he has to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's paid appropriately, but his hours, it's not for everybody. It's funny. I don't think this is funny, but I have a friend that hurt his back. And he was like, man, I'm looking for something to do. You guys need a merch guy or something like that? I'm like, not with a hurt back, I don't.
Right.
I need a merch guy that can carry shit around for 12 hours a day. Like, I mean, that's not how any of this works. It's physical, mental. It's a lot of stress, a lot of responsibility. There's just so much to it. And, our tour merch guy, Marco, and of course our assistant tour manager helps as well, Wyatt. But those poor guys, I mean, they have to handle all the VIP stuff that comes. That's another 100 people a day that get their stuff that they've already paid for. And I mean, it's a big job. And, again, it's hard for him to pay that money over because he's trying to make money for our families,
Right. Now, let me ask you, you brought up VIP, and I've never actually talked to anybody about this. When artists do VIP experiences, right, some people will, like, look at the price tag and be like, wow, that's fucking expensive, right? But, like,
yeah,
I don't know. I've been to VIP stuff. I don't know how you work yours, but, and again, you don't have to get into, like, the nitty-gritty of it, but...
No, I'm happy to.
Do you guys, as a band, when you do a VIP, is that kind of count as merch where, like, you get that? Like, if it's... $100 a person, is that $100 going back to you to do whatever,
Yeah. So we get all of it. It pays for the bus, but obviously we have cost of goods. So we, for a Bowling for Soup meet and greet, you, or VIP experience, you get early entry and you come in, an hour before doors. We do a acoustic performance for you, 3 to 4 songs, that are not songs that we're going to play later for everybody else. There's a signed poster that you get, and then you get a picture with us by a professional photographer that is later uploaded, and you're first in line on merchandise, and you're first in the building. So that's pretty much what it costs. I don't think we're quite to $100 yet, but it's between 75 and 100. We have never had, I mean, actually, I can't say never. One person, I think maybe ever, has complained, and we've been doing it for 10 years, maybe more, about the value in it. Like we make it to where it's, we have a lot of fun, we're very accommodating. And of course, somebody wants to stand there and tell us a story about something. Obviously you got to get through to everybody, but it's not like we're not pushing people. And, so yeah, I mean, the value of it just depends on you. The way that I explain it is this. It's like, if you want to meet us and get a picture, that's great. And man, by all means, come up to me when I'm eating with my family. My kids or my wife will take the picture. I do not give a shit. In fact, please do, because the day it stops happening, I understand that we are no longer relevant. Okay. So if you see me at the airport, come up to me and say hi. If you see me wherever, I want to meet you, right? Let's please do it. But this is 2025, and security is an issue, and the world is a crazy, weird, unsafe place. So at a show, the only way I can guarantee that you're going to meet us and meet the whole band, get a picture with the whole band or whatever, the only way I can guarantee that is for you to do the VIP experience. Again, if you see us coming out to the bus, we will stop and take that photo. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying you're guaranteed that. So for that amount of people a night, it's worth that,
absolutely.
Definitely people that I would pay that for,
absolutely. I say it all the time. Whenever there's a VIP anything, I always tell people, like, do it. It's worth every cent.
I always tell people too, I go, and when people ask me like, hey man, can I get a picture with you at the show? Like whether it's on Instagram, I always say, I want to do this. And I know this is lame. The only way I can guarantee it is if you do this, but I will try my damnedest. But I don't know what security is like. I don't know whether I'm showering after the show or before. I don't know when we're eating or what time I'm doing this or what until I get there. So I can't I can't just go meet you somewhere.
Right.
I don't, because I don't know what my day is going to be,
Yeah.
and everybody's really cool about it. They'll just be like, I totally get it. Thanks for answering me back. And I just believe honesty is the best policy, like, dude, if you see me out, fuck yeah, we can get a picture. Let's
Yeah.
do it. If not, this is another way that you can go about it. I understand it's very expensive, especially for a whole family. Shit.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, but that's again, back in the day, when you were in high school, 2000, back in the early 2000s, um, we would, after every show, we went to the merch booth and sat
Yep.
there until every last person came through,
Yeah.
but we live in a time where security won't let us do that anymore,
Yeah.
and there's been instances of people getting hurt during those situations. That's one thing, but also, they're, the venue's cost is so much. They're like, I'm not paying my security to stay here an extra 2 hours,
Yeah.
So, it's just, we're just doing the best we can.
And you're doing it great.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
So
that.
now I know we're getting close to our time, which is cool because you're dad, right? And
I'm a dad.
I gotta go be dad too here shortly. But with your country stuff, what is the future? What is the near future? What is touring? What does all that look like for you now?
Well, Bowling for Soup just had the biggest year we've had touring wise, busiest year touring wise, and biggest year touring wise last year that we've had since 2007 or so. It's a little slower this year, but it's crazy. We're about to leave on our biggest headlining tour of all time in just a few days in the UK, playing arenas over there now, which is bonkers. We have announced that we're doing Warped Tour. We have several other festivals coming up for Bowling for Soup. We will be touring later this year, but that has not been announced yet. And then we did just announce that we will be on Rock Boat next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of Bowling for Soup plus working on several music projects. We have a live acoustic coming out that we did a few years ago that will be coming out very soon. And then we have a pop punk covers album that we're doing called Bowling for Soup Colors Between the Lines. And so the first single for that is out. It's a Blink-182 cover of The Rock Show. And then we're also going to be working on some new music later on in the year. And country, we got a half an album done as far as new music is concerned. So I would expect that we'll be releasing a single soon. And got a few big Dallas shows coming up in the spring, and playing Franklin, which is right outside of Nashville, and a few other things coming up as well. So, just staying busy.
Yeah. Well, next time you're in Boston or near Boston, we're gonna definitely make it a point to come see you, whichever rendition of you are.
Yeah, well, it'll be Bowling for Soup because, with the country thing, God, the markets can be so small.
Dude, you'd be
do it all.
surprised.
So,
I think you would kill up here.
well, I just stay close to Texas. I mean,
Yeah.
there's guys down here that play every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and they never leave the surrounding states.
Right.
Right. But I threaten to all the time. The really hard part about it is just time. It's like I've got to commit the most time to Bowling for Soup, and then of course in my country band, all the guys have jobs, and except Rob, who is his job is Bowling for Soup, so I know his schedule. But but yeah, man, I really would love it, and I mean things. You never know, but hopefully Bowling for Soup will be up there before long.
All right, I have one last question because I got into an argument with somebody about it the other day. Is Stacy's Mom your song, or is that a Fountain of Wayne's tune?
That's a Fountains of Wayne song.
All right, that's what I said. That's what I said. I think it was one of those like Mandela effect kind of conversations.
It's one of those deals where what we think. So,
because I was like, that's not a Bowling for Soup tune. It's not.
Story goes is that just out of the blue. I mean, it's weird. It was like a few years after that song was even out, people just started going. They would hold up signs. Okay, Stacy's Mom, and they'd come up to us after the show and be like, "Hey, I am Stacy's mom," and it'd be, okay, and it got more and more and more. Well, that went on for several years, and I knew Adam Schlesinger, who actually passed away during COVID, but and most talented guy I ever met. But he's a songwriter and bass player for Fountains of Wayne, and so I was just like, you know what, guys, fuck it, let's just, like, iTunes had become a thing, and I was just like, let's just record it and release it. And we sold like 8,000 of them on iTunes in December that year. It was crazy. And so, because I was like, when you search Stacy's Mom, Bowling for Soup is like the third thing that comes up. That's insane, right? So we just redid the song and owned it. And I'm certain that probably did not help the situation, because still to this day, when I meet parents at my kids' school, whatever, they're like, "What do you do?" I'm a musician. Oh yeah, I'm in Bowling for Soup. Oh, Stacy's Mom. That's a great song. I mean, I have relatives that think we do Stacy's Mom.
Right.
Like, but yeah, I think it goes back to probably getting mislabeled on LimeWire or Napster or something.
Yep.
And a big part of the population think, apparently that happened with several songs back then. But I just think, and we're close enough, I think, in style and probably age that it's pretty easy to get that one mixed up. But yeah, Stacy's Mom, not our song, but definitely we got credit for it for quite some time.
Yeah. All right. I lied to you. One more question, because a friend of mine asked or wanted to know: are you bowling for soup? Are you bowling for the soup, or are you bowling with the soup in mind?
Well, normally I would send you to my TikTok, because I'll always take the views. That's pinned up at the top. But, we answered this question. We had a big press conference, and at the end of the day, are we bowling to earn soup or bowling on behalf of soup? We would be bowling to earn soup, because it is our job. So
I like that.
Soup being food, money, whatever it is, survival, so to speak. And so yeah, man, we're bowling to earn soup.
That's awesome. It's a great story.
Thanks, man.
Well, Jaret, I appreciate you so much for being here, man. It's been a while, and when you guys come to Boston, we will be there for sure.
Thanks for having me, man. This has been
Anytime.
fun.
Anytime. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, man.
See ya.
See ya. Hey,
What's up?
I got a question for you. Where did you get that shirt made?
This was a gift. Somebody actually just gave it to me.
So it looks like, is it pretty high quality? Is it like super soft and stuff?
Nope, not really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's jersey material,
Yeah.
but it's nothing crazy. It's not like stitched. What's the word I want?
Yeah.
It's not stitched or anything. It's all screen printed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Can you find out where they got it made?
Yeah.
Basically, I have a Steelers one of those, and I love it. It's
Okay.
fucking great, and it's all
Yeah.
screen. But I want to do Bowling for Soup ones, but I need to buy them. I need to buy them in bulk.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if a friend of yours probably just had that made somewhere, but I'm curious.
Yeah. I'll see if they can get me the link.
Yeah, man, be cool.
I'll shoot 'em over.
If they do, if I get them made, I'll send you one.
All right. Cool.
All right, brother.
All right,
Thanks
bud.
for having me,
Thanks.
man.
Oh, anytime.
Thanks for patience yesterday too.
Oh, wow, dude. Life happens, man.
Take care, bro.
All right. See ya. Well, there you have it, everyone. Our conversation with Jaret. Again, Jaret, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for taking the time. We get some cool guests, and this, like, 10-year-old, not 10, oh God, not 10, like 15-year-old Jim was very excited for this episode, because it's like, Bowling for Soup, punk rock was like my shit in high school, because I thought I was a badass, or thought, whatever, you think, whatever. But now here I am, 38, and yeah, country music is now what speaks to me. So, whatever. So anyway, we saw Blake Shelton over the weekend. This past Friday night at the TD Garden. Craig Morgan was there. Trace Adkins was there. Deanna Carter was there. Emily Ann Roberts opened the show. I'll say this. A lot of people want to give heat to Blake and others alike, that radio country sound. But I got to tell you, Blake hit the stage at just shortly after 8, played till 11 o'clock. When I tell you I was blown away. He played 34 songs, I believe. Hit after hit after hit. I couldn't believe it. Absolutely fantastic. And the way they broke it up with, Craig Morgan came out, played 3 songs. Deanna Carter came out, played 3 songs. And this was all in between Blake's set. And then Trace Adkins, he was the last to come out. And the garden erupted when Trace Adkins came out. And then they did a 4-song acoustic set in the middle of the arena, which was to me the highlight of the night. Super, super great. If that tour is coming around to you, I know it's coming back through New England. Mohegan Sun, I want to think, March 21st-ish. I could be wrong. The date could be totally wrong. Go see it. Go check it out. And if it's coming out to wherever you are, wherever you're listening from, check it out. You won't be disappointed. This Thursday coming, 2 days from now, we are seeing Lakeview at Six String Grill and Stage over in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Then the next night, Nolan Taylor will be opening for Charles Wesley Godwin in the Allegheny High at the Strand in Providence. We will be there. Saturday night, I might try to go see Lakeview again. Not entirely sure, but Sunday, I believe Sunday, we have Haley Mae Campbell at Off the Rails. Haley has been on this show before. Can't wait to see her again. We might be doing something, so stick around for that with her. We're just waiting for some yeses and whatnot. So I know that's long-winded, but thank you for being here from the bottom of my heart. Next week's going to be special. Next week we have an episode we have a guest that was going to have 2 episodes, and I'm going to explain why. I'll explain why now. We recorded an episode with our guest next week. We didn't think it recorded. We didn't think it was coming through, and it did. So it came in after we had re-recorded. So I said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to send out both. We're going to send one out on Tuesday and one on Thursday. Both conversations are very different. There are some similarities to them. You're going to hear some things twice, but they're very different. So it's almost like you're getting a 2-hour episode, but we're going to break it up just because of the way it was done. And that's going to be with Kenny Fiedler. So stay tuned. Kenny also has a live album coming out next Friday, so that's kind of why we're doing it that way. I think it's next Friday. Anyway, if that's wrong, it's the week after. But anyway, bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. Until next Tuesday, guys, keep those boots on the ground and the whiskey in the glass. Cheers, y'all. We'll see you soon.